All right, shalom, shalom. Most High Christ bless. Most High Christ bless. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Uh, we're gonna go ahead and get started. History in the AM. Topic is today Christ's true colors. Christ's true colors. All right. Let me quit this real quick. All right, we're gonna open up with. I'm gonna open up with Matthew chapter 2. I don't know if we got our scribe. Hopefully he up. All right, let's open up with Matthew chapter 2 and verse 1. The book of Matthew, chapter 2 and verse 1. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. So now here we're reading about the wise men heard about Christ being born, and they went asking, and Herod overheard them, and he was troubled. The key point is verse 3 is when Herod the king heard these things, he was troubled, and all Judea with him. So, because why? Because at this time, Herod the Great was considered the king of the Jews, quote unquote. So we know, if you watch my last class, I went over how Herod is Idumean when you look at that in Who's Who. But let's jump down to verse 7. Matthew chapter 2 and verse 7. Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent him to Bethlehem and said, go and search diligently. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search diligently for the young child. And when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. When they had heard the king, they departed. And lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. So the wise men said, all right, we're going to go find him. They left, and then a chariot, which is a star, led them to where Mary and Joseph abode in where they located in Bethlehem. Okay. At this time, it was during the feast of Passover, and it had a lot of Israelites, obviously, because the law of Deuteronomy 16:16, all flesh come to Jerusalem and worship me. So they had no place in the inn. So they kind of dwelled under a tree near a major. Okay. Let's jump down to verse 12. I'm skipping because I'm going to get to the point, because I went over chapter 2 already, so I'm skipping. All right, Matthew 2, verse 12. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod. This is the wise men. So the wise men were warned from God through a dream. Like, we read Job 14, it says the Most High speak in dreams. He sealed their instruction. So here he's doing the same thing here with the wise men. Okay, verse 12 again. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. Verse 13. And when they were, this is the point, and when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. Now, the point I want out of there is Joseph and Mary was warned of the angel to say, listen, leave Bethlehem, leave the city of Judea, Galilee, and flee unto Egypt. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you a book. This book here is called Picture History of Jewish Civilization. All right? So we're going to go in this book. And pretty much show you something. Let me look for it. Cover bakery, Taskmasters, painting two. All right, bear with me a little bit, Israel. Bear with me. All right, here we go. Hopefully you can see that. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. All right. What I want you to see is in Egypt, let me zoom in a little bit. I'm gonna go up and down because I want to zoom in to make sure you can see that. So in Egypt, as you can see, the Israel, when we was in Egypt, we were a slave. As you see these yokes of iron around our neck, as you follow my cursor, you see a yokes of iron around their neck here, and you see another yoke of iron around their neck here. Okay. Now let's read this highlighted green area here. It says the thousands of war captives were, thousands of war captives who were transformed into slaves made it possible for the Egyptian kings to implement their feast of energy. Chained captives are shown on these painted clay facing plaques from a building erected by Ramses II. Maybe I need to zoom in a little bit more so y'all can see that. So these Egyptian kings had clay images of us while they had us as slaves in Egypt. And what I want you to see is this was during the 19th dynasty. What I want you to see is these images. These are not white folks. You see what I'm saying? These are not white folks. These are black faces with yokes of irons around their neck. So when we read in Matthew 2:13, where the Most High told Herod to flee, he told the wise men, told Joseph and Mary to flee into Egypt. Well, now, why would the angel warn them and say flee into Egypt? Because clearly, they can blend in and hide. Let's go to the bottom of it. Hide amongst black folks. Look at this. This is Israel in Egypt hiding amongst clearly black. And it's important we understand that because remember the topic is Christ's true color. So if Mary's was black, Joseph was black, what color would that make Christ? Because if they had to go to Egypt, there's a reason why they had to go to Egypt to flee from Herod, was to hide amongst the Egyptians, the Mizraim or Hamites. Let you know the Jews were black. Okay, let's read this little highlighted green area here. It says the upper roll of the painting from the tomb of Napt at Thebes shows workmen gathering and pressing grapes. That's what we're looking at here. So you see the grapes. See that? Look at that afro. Let me look at it. Look at somebody come look at this. You can't get a white man out of that. So we destroying a lot. Let me read this bottom half here. Okay, opposite page. Model of a granary tax were paid in produce, and the wheat collected in this way was stored in state granaries scattered throughout Egypt. At the right, the taskmasters stick in hand stands over the people to suppress the work. Let's look at that picture. Look at that. This is the taskmaster. See where my cursor is? This is the taskmaster. See the stick in hand? Over. Now, these taskmasters, when you read Exodus, let me get that real quick and read it real quick. When you get Exodus, you understand these taskmasters were Israelites. What is it? Exodus chapter 10, I believe. Let me look at it. Let me look. Let's go to Exodus 5. I'm going to read verse 10. So, with my cursors, as you can see, these taskmasters are Israelites. These are all people oppressing their own people, set up by the Hamites, the Egyptians. So we at Exodus 5:10. And the taskmasters of the people went out, and their officers, and they, and the taskmaster of the people went out, and their officers, and they spake to the people, saying, Thus says Pharaoh, I will not give you straw. Let's jump down. I'm going to jump up to verse 14. Verse 14. And the officers of the children of Israel, which Pharaoh's taskmasters had set over them, were beaten and demanded, Wherefore have you not fulfilled your task in making brick both yesterday and today, and henceforth? So, letting you know, look at the burden. As it is today, our people are always assimilating to the oppressor to get a better way for themselves and hate their own brother. Why? Because for $1, for whatever it is, you know. Let's get some more. Look at that. I want to see you get a white man out of that. Now, remember, this is Egypt. I'm showing you Egypt. As you see another taskmaster back there, all people sitting in the back. He's directing traffic, him with the white shorts on there. And they're making this is a bakery. This is a bakery of black people. These are the Israelites. You know, so, and this is real artifacts. This is not a painting, although we do have real painting in the walls of Egypt of us being black, but I'm showing you these are real clay form image or something they molded or something. So, you know, this is not no let's read that back down there. It says, motto of a bakery, bread was a staple in Egypt. There were bakeries in which one man milled the flour, another kneaded, and a third brought the bread to the oven. The entire operation was directed by the man sitting in the rear. So this is in a museum in Egypt. So what am I showing you? These are blackety black. You can't get no white man out of that. I'll tell you that. So when you see Egypt, you know we talking about black folks. Understand that. Okay. So back to Matthew 2:13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise and take the young child and the mother and flee into Egypt. As we see Egypt, there are black people there. It's black. You can't get no white man out of the Egyptians, nor the Israelites. So when Mary and Joseph was commanded by the angel to go into Egypt, why did the angel said that? because Herod, it says, Herod will seek the young child to destroy it. Let's get Revelations 13. I'm sorry, Revelations 12. Revelations 12. Uh, mm, mm. Another Egyptian picture. Let me show you this real quick. Look at that. Because I showed you the Israelites. These are the Egyptians right there. Who were this? The Egyptians became familiar with the horse and the wagon after the victory of the Hyksos. Hyksos are the Shemitic. Well, no, they're Shemitic black folks, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I got to fact check. But in the beginning of the long period in 1730 to 1580 of the rule of Asiatic people in the land of pharaohs. So look at that. Black. Meanwhile, you see in the back in the bottom hand corner, let me see if I can zoom in some more. You see the Israelites as slaves, fanning him to the back with those tall fans. You see the fans? That's Israelites. Black is just like the Egyptians that's on the thing, and then fighting and killing other ongoing Hamites. So you can't get a white man out of that. That's the point. Sorry, white man, you ain't tricking nobody. So Revelations 12. Let's get Revelations 12. I'm gonna start at verse 1. The book of Revelations, chapter 12, and verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. So this woman represents Israel. I'm going to prove that. Get that in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 6 and verse 2. Jeremiah 6 and 2. I will liken the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman. So back to Revelations 12 and 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman, which is Israel, clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet. What does that sun and moon represents? I'm going to give you a easier precept here in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light. And reproofs of instructions are the way of life. So I'm going to get one more. Let's get the book of Baruch, chapter 3, and verse, let me look at it, 36. The book of Baruch, chapter 3, and verse 36. He hath found out all the way of knowledge, and hath given it unto Jacob his servant, and to Israel his beloved. So the knowledge and the lamps and the light represents the wisdom of God, the commandment of God. He has given it to the Israelites. So back to Revelations 12 and 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman, Israel, clothed with the sun and the moon, that represents wisdom and knowledge and the commandment, under her feet. And upon her head a crown of 12 stars. What is that going into? Let's get Genesis 37. Hints to the number 12. So you know that's talking about the 12 tribes of Israel. But let's prove that in case we got some new folks with us this morning. Okay, we're going to go to Genesis 37. Let me see where I want to start. I'm going to get to the point. I'll start at verse 8. Now this is I'll start at verse 5 and I'm gonna jump. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. Jumping down to verse uh 9. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it his brethren and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. Why do you say 11? Because Joseph was was the 12, so he didn't count himself. So he's seen 11 bow down to him. Okay. So point I wanted to show you is he's talking about his 11 brothers showed reverence to him. And when you read the history, that's exactly what they did. When Joseph went to Egypt, he was there for a few years as a slave, and even it was in jail until a famine hit the land in Egypt, or all Egypt, and Egypt was able to save through Joseph. And later on, his brothers came to Egypt for 30 years and dwelt there, while Joseph was the second in command under Pharaoh. So going back to Revelations 12 and 2, so we know what the 12 stars represents. It represents the 12 tribes of Israel. So now we're going to go to verse 2 in Revelations 12. And she being with child, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered, meaning the Lord was born in the time it came onto the earth, verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. A great red dragon. Who is that red dragon? Now, there's a lot of significance on that red dragon. I'm going to finish the verse. Having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. Who is this red dragon? Let's get the book of Job. I'm going to go to Job 30 and 29. I am a brother to dragons. Now, we know Job was an Israelite. So if he's a brother to dragon, that makes his brother Esau. How do we know that? He said, I'm a brother to dragon. How do we know we're a brother to dragon? Because Genesis 25. Genesis 25 and verse 25. And it reads, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So this is how we know that red dragon in Revelation is talking about our brother Esau. Let's go back to Revelations 12 and verse 3 again. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, which is the Edomites, which is Esau. We just proved that. Having 7 heads and 10 horns. Those 7 heads are Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, and Great Britain. Then you got the 10 horns that represents the EU, or the 10 common markets. Verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Now, this is why I wanted to come to Revelation, because we just read in Matthew 2:13 that the angel warned Joseph and Mary to flee to Egypt. We prove Egypt are black. Therefore, the purpose of them fleeing to Egypt is to hide amongst the Egyptian, which will prove that Mary, Joseph, and the baby Christ are black. So Revelations 12 and 4 again says, and his tail drew the third part of the stars. Remember, the stars represent the 12 tribes of Israel. A third of 12 makes 3. Okay, that's the third, which would be Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. How do we know? Because at the time in Jerusalem and Judea, you had southern kingdom, because at this time the kingdom has split. This is going into Rome. The kingdom has split back in the times of the kings and the Rehoboam. So in Rome, you had the Jews there who was observing the laws in the synagogues, so on and so forth. So verse 4 again, it says, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth, meaning to captivity. And the dragon, that same dragon Esau, stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered. Stood before what woman? Well, we just read in Matthew 2:13. Now I'm gonna hold where we at, and we're gonna go back to Matthew 2:13. What was the problem? What did Herod want to do to the child baby Christ? We just read it because it says then the dragon. What it said? And the dragon stood before the woman. So this dragon represents Herod the Great, which is Rome. Matthew 2:13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word. Why? He's going to say for, meaning because Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. So going back to Revelations 12 and verse 4, and his tail drew, which is Rome, this is Rome, drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. This is when all the Roman rule, the Herods, the Julius Caesars, Tiberius, Augustus, all of them was just wreaking havoc on the Israelites, okay? That's Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. They took them to captivity. Verse 4 again, the middle part, and the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. So Herod stood before the woman to kill Christ, to make it in simpler form. Okay, verse 5. And she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with the rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. So when you see caught up into God and his throne, that's Christ. When you read in Acts chapter 1, going into when Christ ascended. Acts chapter 1 and verse 9. And when he spoke, and when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him, meaning a chariot, out of their sight. And while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in the white apparel. So these are the angels stood right by the apostles, because the apostles literally seen Christ flew, and then a chariot whoop, picked him up. Let you know, hey, when the Christ say, the things I do, you shall do greater, we're going to be doing that thing. Put some respect on that. All praise to the Most High for that. So where we at? Back to Revelations 12 and verse 5. It says, and she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations, as Christ, with the rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. Meaning he was sat at right on the right hand of God, because he accomplished what he came to accomplish on earth. Okay. Verse 6, and when the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Now, this is a lot going on. After Christ ascended, the woman was taken to the wilderness, which is Egypt. We just read that in Matthew 2:13. Remember, the woman represents Israel. We read that in Jeremiah 6 and 2. Now, let's go to Luke. Before we go back to Matthew, I'm gonna go to Luke 21 and verse 20. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. What? Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. That's who was in Judea. And let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. What does that mountain represent? Let's go back to Matthew 2. Let's go back to Matthew 2:13. I'm going to just get to the point. That same mountain, that same wilderness we read in Revelation represents Matthew 2:13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto Joseph in the dream, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, or the mountains, or the wilderness. all that going to Egypt. And what am the point? The point is the Christ's true color is a black man. We're going to get into it. I'm just showing you basic comprehension based on the term Egypt. You look up Egypt, you know we talking about Hamites or for what the world call Africans. Okay? Let's go back to Revelations 12. And we're still at verse 6. I'm going to read it again. And the woman fled into the wilderness, which is the mountains or Egypt, where she had a place prepared of God that should feed her there 1,203 score days. Now, a place prepared for, at this context, is going into we're going to go to Hosea chapter 1. And we're going to start at verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place, remember the term in Revelations 12 and verse 6, it uses the same word. It says, I'm going back to Revelation 6 and 12. It says, and the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place. Let's go back to Hosea 1 and 10. Hosea chapter 1 and verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass, meaning prophecy, future tense, that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. So where did we learn that we the Israelites, we're the Jews of God? Where are we dwelling now? In Babylon the Great, which is America. That's why let's go back to Revelation 12 in verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared of God that they should feed her there 1,203 score years. That's going into what? 3.5 years, which really mean 350 years where we dwell in captivity here in Babylon. And what does it mean by she shall, what it says, what the term it says is a place prepared that she shall feed her 3.5 years. Let's get Deuteronomy 28 verse 48. Moses prophesied about that thing. Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck. Well, we need to get some images on that, because that surely did happen. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck. Look at our sisters now. This is the transatlantic slave trade. This is how America feeds us. This is how they feed us. The Arabs was into it. There you go. Remember this? This is a real image. Hopefully I can see that. Let me try to zoom in on this one. You see that yoke of iron? Now remember, in Egypt, Pharaoh did the same thing. But here in 1619, also in 1492, we had yokes of irons around our neck. Northern Kingdom in 1492 and Southern Kingdom in 1619. And let's not forget, we just seen an image of that. I showed you about Pharaoh. He had yokes of iron around our neck. Let me see if I can find it again. Yep, there you go, right there. Right there. Same thing. So history repeats itself. Remember in 2 Ezra 5:42, the Lord said, I've likened my judgment like a ring. This was in during the time of Ramses. You talking about almost 3,000 years ago. And now the prophecies say what we just read in Deuteronomy 28, when Moses prophesied about it, we're going to have yokes around us, around our neck again. Right here. Nothing new under the sun. And you think you ain't God, people? Don't let these people fool you. Do not let these people that's unlearned fool you. The Bible is a true book. The Bible is a true book. So, all right. Hope y'all got that. Let's go back. They go to your and you can't deny it. Let's go back to Revelations. Remember, and first, let me go back. Let me go back to Deuteronomy 28. I didn't finish that. Deuteronomy 28:48. Therefore, thou shalt serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against you, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed us. Today, we ain't got yokes around our neck. Why? Because here we're destroyed. We are destroyed that we don't know our heritage. We're destroyed. We don't know our nationality, our customs, and we walk around here calling ourselves African American. That's why we read in Hosea 1:10, the Lord said, in that place, there you will be called the sons of the living God. And that's why we call ourselves Israelites today. Let's go back to Revelations chapter 12. And we're going to go back to we're going to go to verse 7. Revelations chapter 12 and verse 7. Remember, it was at 1,203 score. It goes into 350 years when we was in captivity. We've been here 400 years. We ain't counting. We still going, but we're waking up though. All praise to the Most High for that. All right, it's verse 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. So that dragon is Esau's military. Fought against the angels, but the military is not going to prevail against God's angels. And no place was. It says, and the dragon. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against the angels. So that's rulership. Let's get that in Isaiah. Let you know that war in heaven. Let you know that the Lord is showing what's going to happen in the end. In the end, we Israelites going to prevail under Christ. Isaiah 34, let's start at verse 4. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down. Now, hosts is those satellites, their missiles, whatever, even they spaceships, they planes. Hosts of heaven shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from a vine. Let you know, compared to the Lord, all these technology that we put, so we fear, most of us that fear, like the bombs and the satellites that they can see us, they can hear us through our phones, all this technology, which is science, by the way, all that, that's the Bible call it miracles, but that goes into the science. All that the same. When you see all that, the Lord say, as the leaf falleth off the vine. You know how you just hit a branch, or you got a branch in your hand, you shake it, and so easily the leaves that was on that branch just fall down. That's what the satellites and the missiles, the planes, the helicopters is going to be like when Christ hit the scene. Like a damn leaf falling. It has no power compared to the power God have in store to give us when it's time for payback. You understand that? Okay, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. Here's the point, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. That's some good stuff. So when we go back to Revelations chapter 12, in verse 7, it says, and there was war in heaven. Why? Because the sword in heaven, rulership, Esau is going down. Now, this verse is twofold now. In the spiritual realm, Michael, the angel, is really fighting against them demons up there. But on earth, it's going to be in the physical form too, where the Lord going to come and destroy the nations that oppressed his people, the 12 tribes of Israel, okay? And his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels. Verse 8, and prevailed not. Why? Because we get the victory. We know what the end looked like. That's why we ain't scared no more. You know? Meaning the white man did not prevail against the Israelites or against Christ. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out in the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. All his allies, all the UN, when you read Psalms, I think 83, all those who partake with with Babylon, the merchants, the allies, NATO, all of them. That's their army. That's their angels. All of them. It says were cast out with him. What? From rulership to captivity. And most of them going to be put to death. Okay. Better put some respect on that. So, hey, that's some good stuff. Let me go to Revelations 13. We're going to jump. I'm going to start at verse 8. Revelations chapter 13 and verse 8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. So the point is, everybody's gonna worship this Edomite. Why? Because he's gonna have power for a certain amount of time, and that's what we in now. He has that power. He has that rulership. He has the nukes. He has the ICBM missiles. So all the nations are fearing him. All the nations are subject to this Edomite, because he got what? 850 something bases, or 45 bases, U.S. embassies throughout the whole world. So he's in many waters. So let me read that again in verse 8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship this white man. Everybody in Bahamas, everybody in Haiti want to come to good old America. They want to come to the city they call Magic City. They want to come to America. This is the American dream. Everybody want to come to America. You can go to, Papua New Guinea. If they have an opportunity to get a visa, the first plane they come into America, either Europe, either London, Canada, or America. They coming. That's what it means by we're going to worship this man. Everybody gonna worship me. That's the thing. Okay. I'm gonna jump down to I'm gonna read down. And if verse 9, if any man have an ear, let him hear. Lord said, if you have understanding, understand what I'm about to say. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed. That's a commandment. You live by the sword, you shall die by the sword. Okay, he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. That's some good stuff. That praise ye the Lord. Let's say amen to that. So we just got to be patient. We just got to teach. Our job is to be patient and teach. Okay, verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So America was rising up, had 2 horns, Democrat and Republican. That's why you got Kamala Harris, you got the Democratic side, and you got Trump, the Republican side. They all fighting Biden. I mean, they all fighting, but they all the same snake with 2 heads. Nothing different. One is conservative, one is a liberal, or one is more crafty with being a snake, or the other one is a wolf in sheep clothing. It's all the same guys. Like, you know that good cop, bad cop nonsense they do in the precinct when they apprehend somebody for committing a crime, or and they'll put you in an interrogation room to interrogate you. They got the rough guy, and then they got the little sweet little guy that just kind of, rub your back and make you feel good, and you more uh, comfortable with speaking to him. But it's all the same gimmick. They just trying to get you locked up. They all forgot the same goal. They just got different approaches. That's your Democrat. That's those two horns, Democrat and Republican. Okay. Let's read that again. Verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. That's America. And because by the time we in verse 11, when you read, I didn't read it, but when you read up in 13 and verse 1 down, this is talking about Rome. Okay, so now we at that's why when John seen this vision in verse 14, I'm sorry, not verse 14, verse 11, he says, and I beheld another beast, man, it's America, coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. What do he speak by a dragon? You know, in Revelation 16 about those frogs. Okay, verse 13. And I saw three unclean spirit like frogs. That's politics, religion, and their money, economics. So those, all that, the politics and religion, all that is that speaking. Let's go back to Revelations 11. All that ties into, I'm sorry, Revelations 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon. That's all their politics, their religion, and their economics, money. Is all goes into their God. Gold, oil, drugs. It's all the same. They're about money, covetous, and power, and rooting out countries, and taking all their resources, all that, causing civil unrest in countries. One country might be like before Gaddafi passed, Libya was all right, but after Libya, you have a desert down there in Libya. Same thing you see in Gaza going on today. Gaza was all right until they now who start bombing them and claim they attacked the Iron Dome. BS. They wanted it to happen so they could just wipe them out the map. Okay, Revelation, where we at? Revelations chapter 11, 13 verse 12. And he exercised all the power of the first beast. That's how you know this beast is talking about America, because this another beast that rise, it exercised all the power of the first beast, Rome, before him, and caused it the earth and them that which dwell therein worship the first beast. How does America cause you to worship Rome? The calendar is based off Rome. Your days of the week is based off Rome. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So America calls us to worship Rome. You go to Washington